drinking and dancing. I'm here for the food. Welcome to Mexican Food Made Simple. My name is Thomasina Myers. I'm a chef and I run 4 Mexican restaurants in London. I'm travelling around Mexico to meet some amazing cooks and find out exactly how they do it. Look how fast she's doing it. Back in my kitchen, I'm going to show you my simple twists on Mexican cuisine and take you step by step through some stunning dishes you can cook at home. Later, I'll be putting together a simple sardine dish and doing something delightfully decadent to a pineapple. Plus, I'll be sneaking behind the scenes of a cantina to find out the secret of an outrageously good seafood stew and gatecrashing a Mexican wedding to grab a slice of the gigantic cake. Chilies originally came from Mexico. They were grown here for thousands of years before the Spanish invaded and started exporting them to the rest of the world. Today, there are around 400 different varieties. The simplest way to enjoy them is in the nation's favourite dish. Salsa. The Mexicans simply can't eat their food without it, and it's everywhere. Salsa in Spanish simply means sauce, and Mexicans wouldn't dream of having a meal without it. Here's how I make mine. What I love about Mexico is every single cantina has at least 2 or 3 salsas they make fresh every day. Every family's got their own version, and they've got so many flavours. They use so many chilies and recipes. The best thing about them of all, though, is they're so easy. I've got a dry frying pan, and I'm going to throw my garlic, my tomatoes and my chilies straight onto the frying pan, and that's all I have to do. It's incredibly healthy because there's no oil involved. So I keep the skin on the garlic because that protects the garlic from burning but keeps it soft, and of course no salsa would be right without chili. Here I've got just a jalapeno, a green fresh chili. You can use any type of chili you can get your hands on. You can use dry chilies or fresh. But this one is just such an easy one. You can get the chilies from the supermarket, no oil, no fuss, no sweat. So they're in here roasting, and I'm just going to turn them occasionally. And the tomatoes will probably take about 15 minutes, and the chilies and garlic about 10. But the most important thing is that. Now, you might think that looks charred and burnt, but that will give you that unmistakable roast Mexican flavour in your salsa, which is going to make people just go wild. Meanwhile, I'm going to get on with the rest of the ingredients. 1 onion, and I'm going to finely chop it. Now, of course, you can roast the onion in your salsa along with all the rest of the vegetables if you don't like the flavour of raw onion, but I think it gives it a lovely fresh flavour, so I love to add a bit of raw in. And now I'm just going to check my veg, and there you see that lovely black and charred bit. That's exactly what we want. So these are almost done. Just got time to chop my coriander, and then we're ready. The great thing about these kind of salsas is you can have them at barbecue on a hot summer's day. You can sew this together after your guests have arrived. It's so simple, with the roast onion, with different types of chilies. You can be as creative as you like. My coriander's chopped. I'm going to put it in the same bowl as my onion. And I think my veg are ready to go in the pestle and mortar. Now, the secret here is to mash everything in stages so you don't get everything crowded in your pestle and mortar at once. The first thing I'm going to put in is my garlic. Now I'm going to add a good pinch of salt, which is going to help me mash up that garlic. In goes the chili. Already I'm getting those lovely charred flavours. And the tomatoes. I'm just adding 2 to start with. If you're really short of time, of course you can throw this all into a food blender and whiz it all up, and you get a much runnier sauce. And they do that in Mexico, but I quite like the texture in a pestle and mortar. It's much chunkier. And the final 2. In they go. So there we are. It's done. All I'm going to do now is throw in my coriander and my chopped onion and the juice of a lime, which is going to bring all the flavours alive. And I want to give it a stir now. That's so fantastic. Now all we need is some tortilla chips. And I love to make them myself. They taste so much better than the ones you buy in the supermarket. And you can fry anything you want, really, any kind of flatbread, a pita bread, tortillas, flour or corn. And I just want to put it in a pretty bowl now. But that is it. And the great thing about this salsa is it's good with anything. I love it on grilled meat. I love it on grilled fish. It's even good with bangers. So delicious. And look at those colours. That charred tomato, the lovely white from the onion, the fresh coriander. And now I've got to try it with a chip. It's smoky, it's fresh tasting. It's got that punch of the chilli, just so good. We think of street food as greasy hot dogs, but in Mexico it's a whole different kettle of fish. There's a huge variety on offer, all freshly prepared and cooked in front of your eyes. And what's more, it tastes as good as anything you might get in a decent restaurant back home. Some of the most amazing food, surprisingly, is seafood. And I've come to a store here that's been going for 30 years. It's incredible. Buenos días, ¿cómo estamos? Yo me apetece un empalado de mariscos. I've just ordered an empapelado de mariscos, a wonderful parcel of delicious seafood. Bueno, gracias. Qué rico. Wow. This looks amazing. Está buenísimo. ¿Dónde se preparan? ¿Ah, sí? This is amazing. This tastes so fantastic, and he's actually going to show me how to make it. What I love about seafood dishes is that they're simple to make and you can get stunning results with just a handful of ingredients. The cooks in Mexico City, however, have a completely different philosophy. Wow, what a kitchen! The amount of stuff that goes into this unassuming little tin foil parcel is staggering. It takes street food to a whole new level. Okay, ¿qué hacemos? El jaiba. So here we've got crab he's throwing in. He simmers the crab and then he mixes it with chili. He's got some epazote here and some tomato. And the octopus is just simmered with the epazote, bay leaves, thyme, all those kind of lovely herbs that give it fragrance. Then in go some prawns, some steamed oysters, a raw fillet of fish, 3 slices of chili, and some leaves of epazote, a herb that tastes like coriander. If you think that's it, you're wrong. We're still only halfway through. Okay, so we've got a little butter going in there. Some lovely stringy cheese. Stock mixed with mayonnaise. And finally, just when you thought nothing else would fit in, a spoonful of chipotle, that smoked jalapeno chili. Good old Worcestershire sauce. In Mexico, it's called English sauce, and they use it a lot in seasoning seafood here. And then we're going to wrap it all up so that none of those wonderful juices escape. Entonces, a la plancha, 5 minutes on the hot plate and it'll be ready. That really does make the best seafood stew I've ever tasted. Luckily, making a sophisticated seafood dish doesn't have to be such hard work. Join me in a moment when I'll show you a simple but sexy way of cooking sardines. Plus, I'll be back at the wedding to see the bridegroom take to the floor. Welcome back. I'm Chef Thomasina Myers and I'm travelling around Mexico to find out more about the food. In a moment, I'll be sinking my teeth into a titanic wedding cake and showing you how to make an innocent pineapple taste seriously sinful. But first, here's something smart I like to do with sardines. Escabeche is one of the most delicious sauces that I found in Mexico. It originally comes from Spain and it's a wonderful sweet, sour sauce of vinegar and sugar and sherry and masses of flavour of spices and the herbs. So I've got some extra virgin olive oil in here, some red onions, and I'm going to put my currants in immediately because I want them to fry in the olive oil. I want them to puff up and go caramelised. And this is a trick you can do with currants or raisins, and they are so good. I'm going to do it over sardines today, which takes seconds. I'm going to add my garlic in, just a couple of cloves, just sliced. And I always add it a little bit off the onion because it burns quite easily. And now my chilies. Now, an escabeche doesn't need chilies, but I love the fire, the heat that goes in the sauce when you add a few fresh green chilies, because you've got a sweetness and a sourness to it, which we're going to add in later. But first, to get this base, a little bit of light fire on your tongue really brings this dish alive. And now for the carrots. Again, lovely slices. It's all about prettiness. And my vegetables are taking on a lovely colour, and that's what I want before I add my spices. And even my currants, you can see they've really swollen up. That's just what I'm looking for. So, herbs and spices. I've got some marjoram here. Oregano, marjoram, thyme, any kind of aromatic herb like that. I like to use masses of it. Along with some bay leaves, some cinnamon for warmth, and some allspice berries for earthiness. So now that I've got all the base flavours, I'm going to add all the rest of the ingredients. First of all, chicken stock, the best you can get. It's almost the most important thing. I use a cider vinegar, a good quality one, and this really brings the edge to the sauce. And the last ingredient, I like to use a dry sherry, but you can use white wine as well. And this adds a wonderful dry note. And in we go. Now that my sauce is simmering away, I'm going to add a bit of sugar. I use Demerara sugar, which has a rich caramelly flavour. And this is really important for offsetting the sourness of the vinegar. I'm just going to taste it, just to check for the balance of flavours. All those herbs, the spices, the vinegar, the sugar. Magic. Right, the sardines. I want a really, really hot pan. I've got some lovely fillets of sardines. The joy of these fish are not only they're really good for you, but they cook in minutes. I'm going to just sprinkle some fine polenta flour on them, which gives it a lovely golden colour. So my pan is smoking hot and the sardines skin side down. And whilst those are cooking, I'm going to throw my radishes into my sauce. The reason why I haven't before is because I want them to keep a slight crunch and all that lovely pink of the skin. Just going to check the fish, and I'm turning them now because the skin has gone crispy and golden, which is just what I'm looking for. And they only need another minute on the other side. You don't want to overcook them because you want it lovely and moist. Delicate little sardine fillets, my idea of the perfect fast food. And my sauce is ready to spoon over. The real secret of this dish is now I'm going to leave the fish to marinate, and it's going to take on all these wonderful sweet, sour, aromatic flavours, which makes it the perfect dish to cook when you've got friends coming round. And now all I need is my garnish, parsley and some toasted pine nuts, which add a lovely crunch. And that is my dish, sardines escabeche. Couldn't be easier, and the flavours will really blow you away. I've managed to wangle an invitation to a wedding in Teotitlán del Valle, a traditional rural town located in the foothills of the Sierra Juarez Mountains. Whilst the bride and groom were at church, everyone else is tucking in to these delicious looking sweet rolls and hot chocolate. There's only enough room in the church for close friends and family, so the rest of the relatives, around 200, start the day with a slap-up breakfast. There's an army of aunts, grandmothers and great-grandmothers here to help lend a hand. And with so many mouths to feed, it's all hands on deck. Well, for the women anyway. These warm, sugar-coated rolls are washed down with jugs of steaming hot chocolate. And that's just for starters. This is a traditional Mexican wedding breakfast, and everywhere people are cooking. In the background here, everyone's sitting down and tucking into sweetbread rolls and Mexican hot chocolate. But here is where the real action is. This is Abigail Mendoza, one of Mexico's finest cooks, and she's cooking mole, an amazing rich sauce of chilies, nuts, spices, and of course, that special bit of chocolate. The mole is dished up with freshly cooked turkey. Gracias. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning, and I thought hot chocolate and some sweetbreads would be fine for me. The idea of eating mole and turkey right now was definitely not on, but this is so delicious that even I'm tucking in. I can't believe this is only breakfast. I've got another 12 hours of eating to go. Mexico's got this wonderful coastline, and it's all along the Caribbean where they grow pineapples everywhere. So I always think of pineapple as being a quintessentially Mexican ingredient. This recipe is inspired by my travels there. This is a really simple pudding, griddled pineapple with rum caramel. I've got some sugar in a pan, 200 grams, and I'm going to add to that 130 mils of cold water. Now all I'm going to do is add a couple of tablespoons of golden syrup. Will give it a lovely, rich flavour. I'm just going to leave that on the heat. Because of the water and the golden syrup, I don't need to really worry about it while I get the pineapple on. Top and tail it. Trim off the peel. And cut it into slices. Brush them with butter and pop them in the pan. Just going to butter up the other side. They just look like discs of sunshine. My caramel at this stage is looking a lovely dark colour, and that's what I want because the darkness has that edge that's slightly bitter. So that's perfect. I'm now going to add my rum. Dark rum if you can, because that's got all the flavour. White rum really doesn't do it. I'm going to add a good slosh, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons. Just stand back a bit because it tends to spit a little. Lots of rum, you want that punch of the flavour, and it offsets the sweetness as well. And lime juice. I've got a couple of limes I've squeezed here, and in they go as well. So you've got that citrusy, dark rum, sugar. Wonderful on pineapple. And look at that. My pineapple look perfect. They're soft and caramelised. So it's time to plate up. This rich, dark caramel with all the lime juice and the dark rum and the sugar. And a scoop of ice cream. Oh, look at that. And for a tiny bit more of Mexico, I've got my coconut flakes here, which I've dry toasted in a frying pan, which add a lovely crunch. And that is my griddled pineapple pudding with rum caramel. Now back to the wedding. And it seems like the entire population of this little rural town in the Sierra Juarez Mountains has turned out for the evening's festivities. It's the biggest day in the bride and groom's life, so what better way to mark it than with the biggest cake possible? But before we can get our teeth into the cake, the bride and groom are put through their paces. For selected recipes from this series, visit the Channel 5 website. Next time on Mexican Food Made Simple. A ver, los músculos.
Macizo.
Ah, sí, músculos. Sí, tú tienes músculos. Mission Mexican are giving away a spectacular holiday to Mexico for two, worth over £5,000. The prize includes some fantastic trips to explore the very best Mexico has to offer. All you have to do to enter is text Mexico to 65550, or you can visit channel5.com/Mexico competition for details of email entry. Text costs £1.50 plus a message at standard network rate. Lines close at midday on the date shown on screen and 3 days later for email entries. For rules and winners, go to channel5.com/win.
Well, the CSI all-time top 10 continues later with the Crime de la Crime as chosen for by you from 9. That's after another monster move for our 8 o'clock heroes next.